Alright, so it's around the end of November now, and I'm getting ready to plant some garlic. So I want to kind of describe what's going on with that in the garden this year in 2025. So I'm trying some new different things, some new growing strategies. I know in the past I've had some challenges with getting the bulbs or the cloves to size up. So kind of playing around with that a little bit this year and see what kind of different options I have. Alright, so over the last few years, I've had some challenges with growing garlic, right? Overall, the plants seem to be pretty small. So I just kind of want to establish like what happens when I plant garlic in a tilled system here. So in this little garden section here, I had put down some grass clippings, and then I put down some compost, homemade compost. And of course the grass clippings were collected off of this landscape as well. And then that all got tilled into the soil, right? So kind of, and this was kind of like a more compacted area of the garden too. So not a whole lot going on here in terms of soil health. So to try to kind of resuscitate or kind of kickstart the action, kind of tilled it in a little bit, and then I'm going to rake this over to kind of even it out. I'm going to plant the garlic in here. I think I'm going to do 3 rows, right? One down the side, one down the middle, one down the far side. I may try to mulch it maybe with just a little bit of leaves, shredded leaves, and then let those overwinter, right? Therefore, that way we kind of potentially get some living roots at some point, and this area of the garden is all set to have living plants, growing plants early in the springtime, and then continuing on from there until they get harvested, right? And then from there, after that, I could try to put down a cover crop, maybe winter rye, or winter peas and winter rye in this area, and let that overwinter the next year, right? And then just kind of maintain that soil health, that soil life, and then continue to have growing plants in this area to kind of rehash all that soil aggregate structure, nutrient cycling, secondary metabolites, all those things. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and rake this stuff even, so there's not like foot traffic and divots and whatever. So I have a pretty even playing field, no pun intended, and then I will go ahead and plant the garlic. I think probably about 2 to 3 inches apart, and again, I said 3 rows, and this is all garlic that I've collected myself from growing it year after year. I didn't buy these fresh, but this is my own stock. In this area of the garden, I'd had some pepper plants here earlier this summer, also in that row. You can kind of see some of the died back plants. We've had, a number of good frosts now, so they're toast. But I also had some pepper plants in the front of the garden, more towards the northern end, and those plants in the front had initially received like a kind of a fertilizer treatment of compost, organic type stuff. And here they did not. And I noticed later on, as the plants were dying back, we were getting colder weather, and the plants out in the front were still like green and not terribly affected by a light frost. Whereas these immediately died back. The leaves wilted, everything got dark, and you know, the plants were done. So that was kind of interesting to see. So it could be a fertilizer treatment at planting. It can be really helpful for these pepper plants, because that was when I applied that mixture. But also maybe it's also just masking the baseline state of this soil health, which is not necessarily great. So still trying to work to improve the soil structure, the carbon cycling and everything like that. Just added in a bunch of organic matter, and then now I'm going to go ahead and plant this garlic. Alright, so I dug some holes here. Again, got those 3 rows going. I'm going to plant the garlic in those holes. Got a sage plant right there. And I'm going to go ahead and get those in the ground today. And this is the garlic we have. So it's a variety, a couple of varieties of garlic. Whoops. And so it's probably more than enough garlic for all the holes I have so far, but I'm also going to plant some garlic in untilled areas as well. I also might harvest some parsnips, and then right after harvesting those, just plant the garlic in those rows as well. And so that'll be like a kind of a cool successional crop, right? And so it'll be cool to see how those do, if the parsnips have helped to kind of till the soil in that area. All right, we got some parsnips plants right here, breaking up that soil compaction, harvesting it, and then planting the garlic right in there, right? Because we are in November, late November, almost December, actually. And so these parsnips are totally ready to be harvested. We've had a number of frosts, so they've, you know, sweetened up. And then I can harvest these and use them fresh as is, or I can freeze them for later use, or dry them, whatever the case may be. So I got the garlic in, and I just have to go through and cover the holes at this point. But there they are. Of course, it's important to have the pointed end of that garlic clove pointing up. That's where the shoots will emerge, and the more rounded end, where the roots come out of, those are in the bottom. So always make sure that the garlic is oriented correctly when planting it in the soil. I'm going to go ahead and cover these up then, and then add some leaf mulch, shredded leaves on top. Right, so here are some parsnips we have. About ready to harvest these, and then plant the garlic down into them, down into the rows as like a successional cropping here. Got a pitchfork, and just gonna go ahead and go down both of these rows and dig up the parsnips. The key is to go down straight with the pitchfork, right? At least a good few inches out from the plants, and right, and then you lift up, because you don't want to snap off those roots or gouge them as you go, if you go in diagonally. So always try to go straight down, and then lift up. All right. So we have some staghorn sumac roots from the adjacent tree, right there. So it's just making it a little bit tricky, but that'll be okay. Alright, so these ones in particular are pretty small. This one's a little larger. But yeah, the drought in the second half of this season definitely didn't help. All right, here's some more parsnips. So size-wise, it's been a pretty mixed bag. These ones are a little larger, but yeah. Alright, so I have the 2 rows of what used to be parsnips here. So now I've harvested those. And I'm just going to plant the garlic right in there. Alright, so the soil is already kind of loose from the parsnips having been growing in there and now harvesting them out. And so I'm just going to plant the garlic right in there. So I don't even need to use like anything to make the holes. I mean, I can if I want, and then I just put them right in, but I can also just go like this because the soil is so loose. Thank you so much for checking out this video on planting the garlic. It's, one thing I enjoy doing, even during this season, while everything is losing its leaves and dying back, we can still be planting new life to come for the ensuing season. So it's a nice way to kind of wrap up the season of gardening, is planting new stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel free to subscribe. Also, please consider joining as a member. Joining as a member, of course, helps out the channel a tremendous amount. And you can also open yourself up to getting additional content from me, if that's appealing. All right. Thank you. Take care.